Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Black Edition Live. I'm your host, Layman. Today, we are talking with in-car audio with Sony. How you doing, guys?
Great.
Hey, Layman.
Yeah, we have two special guests with us from Sony. We have Tim and Chris. Like you guys to introduce yourselves a little bit. Tim, we'll start with you.
Great. I'm actually with one of Sony's distributor partners that we distribute in the Mid-Atlantic, and been with my company about 27 years. We really enjoy the Sony product and the quality, and also a great partner to work with.
Fantastic. And Chris, tell us a little about yourself.
So I'm the national product trainer for the Sony Car audio team here in North America. So I can kind of handle all of our distributors and our retailers and some general consumer interaction with our products and our technology.
Okay. And for those who are watching, this is a live Q&A. So if you have any questions for me or the guys at Sony, please feel free to comment. So let's start off talking just a brief history about Sony's in-car audio history, because obviously everybody knows Sony's a big name, but we're not talking televisions today. We're not talking projectors. We're talking car audio. So tell me a little brief history about Sony and their audio.
Yeah, so it's actually funny you bring up, TVs and all the other things that we do. We actually leverage all of the knowledge that we gather in those other categories that we have, whether it's portable music or the LCD panel technology in our TVs, whatever it is. We use that technology to kind of improve all of our products, right? So on the car audio side, we've always kind of led the pack with just a lot of kind of forward-thinking stuff, from the original development of the CD player back in the 70s, which didn't really come to fruition until the 80s, to mini disc and all kinds of different development stages, from then until now. We've really just kind of led the pack with reliable, consistent, kind of well thought out interface, just good, solid product from top to bottom, right? So from the early days of car audio, we've always been about sound and sound quality. We developed our mobile ES line that was prevalent in the mid-90s. And since then, we've just continued kind of refining that sound processing technology, all of the things that kind of go into our products. So, sum total, we've been in this for a really long time, and every time we kind of turn a corner on a new technology or a new development, we just get better at it.
Fantastic. And Sony's really become a household name. Both, my kids are very familiar with it. And I said I was interviewing some guys today, and they were my son and daughter. They were all excited, so I'm sure they were watching at home. So, all right, let's get off. What is new with in-car audio with Sony? What's the new hot product right now?
The newest thing that we just kind of brought to market is our XAV-AX5500 head unit. So, car kind of vehicle technology is really kind of rampant with phone connectivity right now. It's super popular for somebody to want to plug their phone in and kind of use their own maps, their own music, have their contact list automatically in the radio. And even from a factory perspective, the vehicles that are being introduced nowadays, they all have this same technology. So it makes a lot of sense for us as an aftermarket company to be providing these technologies for the older cars that are on the road, right? Mm-hmm. So this AX5500, we like to call it, kind of brings all that to the forefront with a consumer. We've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay compatibility, as well as the new WebLink 2.0 capability. Allows you to mirror the screen of your phone right directly onto the deck that's in your dashboard. So lots of cool stuff going on there. I mean, it really kind of centers around phone connectivity. That's the new thing that really everybody is interested in nowadays.
The phone can. I just finished a video. We posted a video about 3 hours ago on the 550 with my new review on it, and it's just a fantastic product. And I got to mess with the web link a little bit, and that is, you can access YouTube and watch some YouTube videos on it, which is, most places can't do that quite yet. You have to have the web link cast to actually see video, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, you do have to have an app on your phone, and it could be either Apple or Android. It doesn't matter. You have to have that app that's on your phone itself before you can connect to the radio and kind of view that video. And when you're trying to view video, of course, the vehicle has to be parked to do that. Our radio will sense that if it's hooked up correctly. And once you're able to do that, you can play any kind of non-subscription or non-protected video that you've got. So videos that you've recorded, maybe pictures of your kids or your family, whatever it is that's kind of on your phone that you can use and you personally own, you can show on the screen.
And how have people been kind of like receiving it? Have you gotten a lot of positive feedback?
Well, so the benefit that the 5500 has is it's based on our extremely popular AX5000. It's now both of those radios still exist, but the 5000 really kind of set the bar for just a great display, just very easy to use interface. And we've just simply expanded the capabilities of that head unit into the 5500. Okay, so it's a great deck. People have been receiving it very well. Customers love it. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with it, so it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was saying before we started the broadcast, that I'm looking to finally do an upgrade in my vehicle. I think the 550 might be where I'm going in that route. Yeah, fantastic. So we do have some questions coming in. First one is from Caddy. It says, will Sony be coming out with any higher end amps?
Yeah, eventually. This is kind of the internal mantra that we live by. It's soon, only not yet, and that's what Sony stands for. Sometimes it's kind of funny, but we are always developing new product, and it takes us a long time to really kind of make sure we're getting everything just right. We don't like to launch a product and then have a revision to it. We like that product to come out, be very successful, be very usable, be very durable, and then kind of live its life out, right? So it takes us a little bit longer to develop than some other companies, but we want to make sure we're getting it perfect. So you will eventually see some new speakers, some new amplifiers, and even some new head units introduced over the next couple of years that will be very impressive for sure.
Fantastic. Now, and just out of curiosity, like certain products, like how long does it take would you say spends in development before it's released, or does it really depend on the product?
Yeah, it really depends on the product, and it also depends on how much work we've already done on that. So a product like the 5500 that's just come out, the development time on that was pretty short because we already had a really good solid foundation in the 5000 to build off of, right? So when you're developing a new amplifier line or a new speaker line or something like that, where you really have to kind of start from the ground up, it takes a little bit longer for sure. That may range anywhere from a year to 2 or 3 years, right?
Fantastic. All right, and we have another question in from Carol. It says, will Sony be making a rear seat entertainment package?
It's unlikely. We don't talk a ton about future product, but it's unlikely you'll see something on rear entertainment from us, only because most of that has been solved by just portable tablets, right? There are still some companies that do rear seat entertainment packages, but we probably aren't going to get into that space. One thing about us on the Sony Car audio team is like we really want to play in our own space, right? And we love to be experts at what we're experts at. We're not experts in the rear seat entertainment business right now, and we probably won't be in the near future. Portable tablets and kind of the carry-in technology kind of solves that problem in our minds. So we probably won't get into that anytime soon.
Okay. And then you kind of touched on this briefly, but we do have another question then from Larrick saying, will Sony be coming out with any higher end speakers?
Yeah, we kind of touched on that a little bit. You will see new products introduced over the next couple of years that I know that sounds like a long time, but from a development standpoint on the manufacturing side, it's really not. This product will be out soon. In our minds anyway, but you will see new products in a bunch of different categories. I really can't go any deeper than that.
All right, fantastic. Now, so you and I, we all spoke the other day. Like now, you obviously have access to a lot of good stuff. What do you have in your personal vehicle as far as, do you have a Sony? Which head unit do you have?
Yeah, so I've actually got a Cadillac CTS that you can't actually change the radio in that vehicle without losing a ton of the actual OEM equipment and customization features. So I've kept the head unit in there, but off of that, I'm using an aftermarket processor from our friends over at Nav TV, and that goes into our Sony amplifiers and our Sony speakers. That vehicle has 11 different active amplified channels through our Sony amplifiers. and it's of course using our Sony GS car audio speakers in that. So I basically replaced all the factory speakers in that vehicle with Sony speakers and Sony amplifiers. I've got 4 amplifiers in that car.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Lehman, I have a full Sony system in my car as well, and I'm using the XAV-AX8000, which is it's the large screen, what they call a floating deck, and I also have the GS Monoblock 100, or Lexus GS 100, and the high-res 4-channel with the Sony GS 3-way components and Sony GS 1621 rear speaker components as well. And we were talking about speakers a little bit earlier, and some people are asking about some higher-end speakers. And I can attest that the GS speakers are a very high-end speaker at a great price point. They're hard to beat.
Okay. Now you talked about the 8000. You have that in your car. Now that was out just a couple of months ago, about a year ago, when that was released fairly recently, correct?
It came out last fall. Yeah.
Yeah. I did a review on that, and it's been a very popular item here. Some shots of it. Been a very popular head unit for us. That 9-inch display is incredible. I mean, how have been the reviews for you guys?
Oh, it's been great. I really like having a larger display. Getting older and I kind of getting farsighted, so the big display is really nice for me. And I depend on Android Auto. I travel a lot, so having that larger screen with the maps on it for me, and to read the text a lot easier. It's really nice to have.
It's really interesting that this is kind of an experience that once you've had that larger screen in your dashboard, you never really want to go back. And I've got a personal example of that. My wife, the poor thing, she's the unwitting kind of recipient of a lot of Sony kind of prototype product, and we test a lot of things in our own cars just for durability, usability, and all that good stuff. And I rely on her to give me good feedback. And like I say, the poor thing, she's got to deal with me all the time on car audio stuff. But I actually had our AX7000 in her vehicle for quite a while. She loved it. It was a great deck. That's our high power output 7-inch screen deck. And I changed that to the AX8000, which is of course the 9-inch floating tablet that we're talking about. And I put that in and then came back from one of my training trips and was going to remove it from the car to put the 7000 back in, just so I could beat it up a little bit on the test bench. And she said, "No way." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "No." She's like, "The only time you can take this out is when you get a production unit of this to put in here." And I'm like, "Wow." And asking her a little bit more about that, she had just gotten so used to the larger screen, the larger icons, just that bigger map that she's able to see in the dashboard. It's a night and day difference. You don't realize, like, if you're just looking at them on a display panel in a store, you can see there's a size difference. But once you start using it day to day, and then you have to go back to that smaller screen, it's quite a kind of unnerving feeling.
And it's funny because we've actually we had our guy install them in 2 dump trucks. We had a guy come in and had these beautiful brand new dump trucks and did full stereo upgrades in it, because when you're spending 8 hours a day in your truck, you got to have the best. And those screens really just popped in that, because they were and it's a singled in, which is unusual for such a big screen, and yeah, they loved them.
Well, the cool thing about ours is there's several other competitors that have kind of that floating tablet type screen. But ours has a very thin bezel around it, much like our home TVs have a very thin bezel around them, and you can kind of put it up there and fit it between some pillars in your house next to the over the fireplace or something. That thin bezel around our screen in that dashboard allows you to fit that radio into a dash that might not be ready for that large a screen, right? There's always controls or vents or levers or something above or below, maybe to the sides of those screens that you're now trying to kind of force in there. And that thinner bezel, that smaller real estate size, even with that large screen, allows you to kind of get it into a place it might not normally fit.
Yeah, like it almost, in the 550, it almost looks factory with that bezel-less thing in the, so I could see that. All right, we got another question from Caddy. Will Sony be coming out with a standalone DSP?
You'll just have to wait and see.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Again, and I'm not trying to be dodgy with it. We can't do I can't talk a lot about a future product. That's not one of our things to do because we don't want anything to change over time, right? But like I say, we're always really kind of working hard to make sure we're delivering good, solid product that is applicable to what's going on nowadays. I mentioned earlier that I couldn't replace the head unit in my vehicle, my personal vehicle. So obviously we're looking at a lot of things that can kind of help, us continue to sell product in vehicles like that. So we're always looking at those types of things.
All right, fantastic. And we have another question in from Alaric. It says, any chance you guys will make a dash cam? Now, dash cams have become really popular over the years for multiple reasons. And I actually just did one on not too long ago. Have you guys given any consideration to that, or is that anything you might think about?
We've talked about it off and on. Again, this is something that our car audio team is not necessarily going to do right away. I can tell you this: we make the lenses and some of the microprocessors for a lot of the cameras you already see out there. Okay. So we're actually already kind of in that business, just not visibly on the product itself.
Yeah, and they've become almost. I mean, it's almost like an extra safety feature because it's for insurance reasons especially.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. And then let's see. We got a question from Aaron. Will Sony be coming out with any larger tablet styles? I mean, the 9-inch is pretty big. I don't think you guys are going to go much bigger than that. Is it even possible? I haven't seen anything bigger than 9.
It is possible. We've had some competitors come out with 10 and almost 11-inch screens now. It's not all of those are on the market yet, but they are coming soon. And you'll just have to kind of stay tuned.
Now, is there anything that says like it's too big in the screen? Because eventually that screen's going to get so big, it's going to hide your AC. I mean,
there's a couple things that you have to kind of consider, right? One is the overall just real estate that you've got on the dashboard. So not every vehicle has kind of the room for an 11-inch or 12-inch or whatever size tablet to sit just in the middle of the dashboard, right? Mm-hmm. The other part is the mounting capability. So with a larger screen, it's heavier. You're going to have to come up with a pretty creative and durable way to mount that in the dash, right? So I think we did a really good job with our AX8000, kind of making it easy to mount and really kind of structurally solid. You've got a lot of things you have to consider when you're putting something like that in the kind of the dashboard of a vehicle in terms of impact and all that stuff. So we're always evaluating what we could possibly do down the road. You will see larger tablet sizes, maybe not from us, but you will see them out in the market soon. And like I say, just stay tuned.
Okay, fantastic. Now, if you could pick one thing that you'd say that in-car audio excels at, like what would be, because what would your main, would you guys do better in the head units, the speakers? What is it you guys truly consider your...
Well, Sony's always been, it's not so much what we're good at, because we're good at a lot of things. Mm-hmm. We don't typically come out with products that we're not good at, right? But we're far more well known for head units, right? That's everybody considers a Sony. They think it's a head unit, right? So, like Tim mentioned, he's got our Sony amps and speakers, as do I, in our vehicles, and they're spectacular. Our GS amplifiers, our GS speakers have 3-year warranties, which are unheard of in this industry. They're so solidly built, it's ridiculous. You cannot break these things. So they're just awesome, but nobody ever thinks of us when they think of speakers or amps, right? Mm-hmm. You're thinking of a lot of other competitor names that are much more popular on those fronts. So you'll quite often see a Sony head unit powering other competitor amps or speakers, it's frustrating at times for a Sony guy to see that, but I understand it, right? Mm-hmm. So we're very good at all those things. We're just not as well known in some of those fronts,
Yeah, and because it's Sony, you guys have been making speakers for decades now. So I mean, do you take a lot of the technology from like other divisions of Sony, like their speakers and stuff that for in-house, and then kind of take some of that and throw it in the car?
Yeah, we use a lot of the technology and expertise. I think expertise is more the right word. Mm-hmm. We know what works and we know what doesn't, and we know the reasons things work, right? So when we come out with something, it's typically a little bit more efficient, a little bit more effective, and you're able to apply it in a little bit different way, right? So our speakers, Tim has our three-way components in the front of your car, right?
Right.
Our 1631C three-way component sets, and we developed the mid-range speaker in that, which is a 3.5-inch mid-range, to literally drop into the factory spots in most vehicles, Toyotas, Nissans, all kinds of different, factory vehicles that have that 3.5-inch spot in the dash or in the pillar. You can put these right in there with no kind of modification. So we've taken the expertise we have on our car audio side with the experience with the vehicles out there and made it easier to install our product, right? So.
Fantastic. And we got another question from Aaron. Will Sony be making any changes in screen layout or customization? Any firmware updates?
So that's two separate questions, both of them really good. Firmware updates actually come out pretty often nowadays, only because we're always refining connectivity with new phones, maybe operating system upgrades that Apple or Android might come out with that change something. We have to accommodate for that. So we have firmware updates coming out fairly regularly. It's easy to find on our Sony eSupport site. And there's also a Sony app called Support by Sony that's available for either Apple or Android. But you can use that app to kind of stay on top of what products you own from Sony in terms of firmware updates. In terms of screen layout, so we have some new products coming that might offer some more customization on that front. We're pretty proud of our interface on our radios because it's so simple. That cross media bar that you see on our radios is very familiar for a lot of consumers out there, right? So if you've ever used a PlayStation 3 or 4 or had a Sony TV in your home, you've seen that same exact media bar, right? That cross bar, and you can slide right and left on your PlayStation and go up and down. It's actually a lot easier to use on our radios because there are a lot fewer options. But that same kind of cross media bar exists on all of our products. So it's a very familiar transition from the home to the car, right? It's very cool.
Okay, now, with the sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. With the firmware, that seems very advantageous with radios today compared to a couple of years ago. If something, you just changed the slightest thing. Before you had to buy a whole new radio. Now it's just a quick update, right?
Well, it's both good and bad, right? So, a lot of people kind of roll their eyes when they hear about a firmware update, but it's pretty important, right? Because Apple and Android both will roll out a new change in their operating system. Like Apple's pretty well known for its CarPlay feature, right? And if they change how something operates or connects to the radio externally from that phone, we have to make sure that we're accommodating for that. Now, that CarPlay software resides on the phone itself, but if there's some sort of more efficient way to connect to it or something we have to be aware of on the connection side, we have to kind of take that into account and make sure that we have the firmware update available for that when that new OS launches. Okay, so it's actually a good and a bad thing. Again, most people are like, oh my gosh, I got to do an update for a radio. Why would I have to do that? But it's because of all the stuff you're either plugging into it or trying to connect to that is getting improved.
Now, going back to the wallpaper or the screen layout and customization, I did notice one of the big differences between the 5000 and the 5500 was you could add your own screen saver. Like, was that a big demand? I know a lot of people, like, I've done videos in the past, they've asked, can we put our own image on there?
Yeah, believe it or not, we actually had this on our original CarPlay and Android Auto radio, which was the AX100. And then we got rid of it when we launched the AX5000, and everybody screamed, right? So we've now brought that back for our newer units, our AX7000, our AX8000, and of course our AX5500 that just launched, all have that feature now. And that's not a startup screen. That's not a wallpaper. That's your home screen image that is on the radio as you're kind of in that home tuner. If you're in the Sirius XM or CarPlay or Android Auto screens, you won't see it anyway. So there's no way to really kind of update that. But it is on that home screen if you ever go back to that.
Okay. Now, obviously, this summer has been a lot different for most people. Travel plans change. People are spending more time in the car. What kind of trends are you seeing? How's that affecting you guys? Are you seeing more demand for head units and speakers than summers past?
Yeah, it's actually great. This is like mid 90s level business that we're looking at right now. It's been a very big deal for us. I think upgrading your vehicle has become important all of a sudden because we had really kind of taken for granted that you could hop on a plane to go to a regional city nearby. You know, I could hop on a plane from Nashville and go to Charlotte or Knoxville or something like that very easily. And now with just everything that's going on in the world right now, you're a little bit more iffy about getting on a plane or being that close to that many people for a couple hours. You might just hop in the car and take that trip instead. And so the advantage we've got is now that you're spending more time in your car, you know, on these little family trips or maybe some regional visits to some locations as as part of your work. Now we're benefiting from that because you want to upgrade your car. You know, you're in it more often, you're using more technology features more often. So we're kind of the benefactor, and we're very pleased because we're offering all these different types of technologies for these consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Road, like, I used to go to South Carolina, like to the beach. I used to fly, but now it's an 8-9 hour drive. That's a lot more time in the car with my kids, and you need something more to a little more music, a little more easy options when you're driving.
That's right.
We're seeing the same thing, Lehman. Just a tremendous increase in business and demand for the product, and people just seem to spend more money on their toys, so to speak. So, a lot more motorcycle business, your ATVs and UTV business, in addition to the car audio side of things. So, it's really an interesting time right now.
Okay, so now with ATVs and motorcycles, will Sony be coming? Do you have a lot as far as Sony's and like off-road type vehicles?
So we've got a few head units that are kind of marine grade. They're not waterproof, but they do kind of resist the elements being parked outside overnight and stuff like that. We're not marine experts by any stretch of the imagination. Again, I'll go back to kind of being experts at what we're experts at, and we're not quite there. There's a lot of really good aftermarket companies that provide those types of equipment. However, we do have some cool features. Our AX7000 high power head unit actually has a weather resistant front on it. So the screen is sealed, and the button bar at the bottom is sealed as well. So it can handle an occasional splash on the face of it. Great for Jeeps, maybe some UTVs that have a space for that larger doubled-in radio, which, by the way, has that singled-in mount. So you could essentially stick that in a singled-in slot and kind of have it hang in front of the dash on certain vehicles. So we've got some little kind of things that kind of help with that. We've got a ton of those 7000s on motorcycles across the country, thousands of them. We've got them in a lot of the little slingshot vehicles, all kinds of those types of things. Use some of our product, but we're not the wake tower kind of outdoor boat type speaker guys that some people kind of wish we were.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of learning a little more and more about boats as I go on here. The marine grade it's tricky. It's very tricky to get the waterproof and sounding good.
Yeah, just to get an IPX rating, you have to now have that product certified on all fronts of it. It used to just be the face or the exposed side of it. Now it has to be the entire unit. So to get an IPX rating on a radio, for instance, every surface on that radio would have to have that same rating, right? So very difficult to certify some products like that, especially if something's got to be mounted into something else. You, of course, have those openings for those bolts and things like that. Just a very complicated process. I can't say we won't get into that, but it won't be anytime soon.
Okay. Now, do you guys have any recommendations? Now, you have so many head units. Someone who doesn't, like, somebody wants to put one in their car and then build, and then there's some who just want the radio head unit. What would you recommend for someone who just needs the head unit versus someone who is planning on building a full system?
Well, actually, you've got the best of both worlds in any of our Sony high-power head units, right? So if you're going to start with a head unit, you always kind of want to start with the best you could possibly get. And our high-power head units offer actually an internal amplifier to kind of get you started, right? I joke with some of our retailers that it's kind of the gateway drug to better car audio, right? Because you're going to get the taste of some good Sony high-power audio coming out of that head unit to either your upgraded Sony speakers or some other speakers in the vehicle. And then as you begin to build that system, maybe adding an amp or a sub, you can utilize those 5-volt pre-outs on those head units to now push good signal to those amplifiers and get the volume you need out of them, right? So our head units are always a solid kind of source unit starting point for a system. We always recommend that. That's kind of why we're known for head units, because everybody kind of starts there. But then adding on to them has become much easier because now you've got several different options with the high power output.
Okay. And what would you say is one of your more popular speakers offhand?
Oh, by far our XS GS 1621 coax speakers. Those are our 6.5-inch GS speakers with a 3-year warranty. We have several variations of that. We have a 1621C and a 1631C. That's the 2-way and 3-way component set. We're the only Japanese manufacturer currently that has a 3-way component set for the front of a vehicle. So just a lot of cool stuff going on there. Our GS series speakers, anything with GS in the model number has a 3-year warranty. So our consumers can be confident these things are going to last, right? So very high quality stuff. Our FB speakers are kind of your mid-grade speakers. Not quite as expensive as the GS series, but they also don't have that 3-year warranty, right? Still great quality speakers, great sound, of course. And then we have our OEM replacement side, which is our R series speakers. So we've got speakers across the board. Like I say, we're not really well known for them, but they're great units for sure.
All right, fantastic. All right, is there anything else you guys would like to let our viewers know? Anything else you'd like to share? Just, before we head out.
For me, just listen, always communicate with your local retailer. If you, want a Sony product or you need Sony to provide something new, then always communicate to your local retailer. We always deal with going kind of through your local retailer. So find a local Sony guy. He'll have Sony in stock for sure. Reach out to them, ask what's coming because they're always kind of in the know, and relay to them what they might need. In your vehicle, whatever it is, right? And we take that feedback to heart. We really do. We talk with our retailers all the time. We talk with our distributor reps like Tim to kind of get that feedback directly. And we take that directly to Japan and help plan out the next set of models that we come out with, right? So always communicate to us. It is always heard. It's not always a quick reaction, but we definitely always kind of take it into account when we're planning things.
Fabulous. And of course, a lot of the products that we talked about are available here at Black Edition. You can go to our website, blackedition.cc. And I think that's just about it for us, gentlemen. I'd like to thank you so much for coming out and talking with us today. Like I said, we just debuted the 550 video. I think it's a fantastic product, also available here at Black Edition. And that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it. And everyone at home, thank you for watching, and join us next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.